welcome back. Today we're going to talk about what is an entrepreneur. What inspired this video here is because I see a lot of people trying to do their own thing these days, and I see a lot of them thinking that they're entrepreneurs, but they're really not at an entrepreneur level. They're more of, I want to migrate into the entrepreneurship level. So it's hard sometimes to actually think of yourself as an entrepreneur when you're actually not an entrepreneur. And I think a lot of people do this, and a lot of people disguise themselves online to appear to be entrepreneurs, but are really not entrepreneurs at heart or in the sense of what they're doing. Now, to me, an entrepreneur, and this is coming from my personal definition, is an entrepreneur is willing to do whatever it takes to make his business successful, which means if he has to devote more time, if he has to devote more money, if he has to devote more assets, he's willing to do that. She's willing to do that without even hesitating. A lot of people want to hesitate when it comes to being involved in their own business. But, most people aren't going to hesitate when it comes to, working for somebody else. Somebody else tells you to do something while you're working at a job. You don't really hesitate to do it. You just do it because you know that, you're at a certain rate per hour or you're at a certain salary. So, you know what the end result is of your actions. And a lot of times with entrepreneurs is we know the end result of our work and what our work is going to get us, and that ultimately is whatever our goals are or our expectations are for ourselves. But I think what happens is you have a lot of people who fall right in the middle who don't really know what to expect because they're new to entrepreneurship or they really haven't devoted themselves to 100% of being an entrepreneur. And what happens is they're not willing to make a lot of sacrifices or just get right into stuff like they would at a job. If you need to sit down and do 5 hours of work, it's easy to do at a job when you know what the end result is. But in entrepreneurship, a lot of times it's not really steady. There's really no steady income or anything like that. So, you find a lot of people who are not willing to sit down for 5 hours and work on something that's their own, but they're willing to work on somebody else's, And to me, an entrepreneur realizes not only the end or the compensation rate associated with working or doing a specific project, but we realize the potential, the potential that something has. And that's where the time is spent. The time is spent on potential, because if I work at a job, my potential is limited by what that job is willing to offer me. Whereas in an entrepreneurial mind state, you know that your potential is only as much as you're willing to put in, which means that if I work harder, if I do more time, or if I put more money into something, it has potential to grow higher and higher and higher. And it's not determined by someone else's expectations or someone else's perception of what they think I'm valued at. I can value myself, and therefore I can get a result that's going to quantify my work that I'm trying to put in. A lot of times people don't get the just reward they deserve for the amount of work they put in, but yet they're willing to do it a lot more when there's a lot less risk or a lot less at stake. Which makes sense. Entrepreneurs are definitely risk takers, and I think that if you're not really a risk taker, it's going to be hard for you to be an entrepreneur, because there are going to be days where you're going to be down and things just aren't going right, and you may have months or years where things aren't going right, or things seem not to be going your way, or you may be down. So an entrepreneur knows that at the end he's going to prevail, and the entrepreneurs that do prevail are usually the ones that have success and are on taking vacations and on trips and everything like that. And, really, being an entrepreneur means taking risks, means devoting time, means believing in yourself, means doing whatever it takes to be successful. So here I am today telling you my version of what an entrepreneur is.